Welcome to Looking at the Markets with David Modell. Today I'm going to give you an indicator that is similar to Bollinger Bands and Keltner channels, but a little bit different. It is the Donchian channels. And I'm on tradingview.com right now. And to get there, you can go to TradingView if you want to, or you can use your own platform. Click on Indicators, go down, and there they are, Donchian channels. And you can put them up. The standard setting is 20, and that means that the look back period is 20 periods or 20 candlesticks. But you could always change that. But we'll just keep it on the standard setting for now. And so what it does is it looks back at the last 20 periods or candles. In this case, it's a daily candlestick chart, and so it's looking back the last 20 days. You could also use this with the 1 or 2 or 5 minute candlestick chart. If you're a day trader, if you're a swing trader, the daily chart should be just fine. If you're long term, you can use the weekly, monthly chart, whatever you like. All right, so I'm using the daily candlestick chart, and this is for Netflix stock. And I've got the Donchian channel on the 20 period settings. And it looks a lot like the Bollinger Bands or Keltner channels, except you've got these weird looking flat parts, right? Notice that it's perfectly horizontal in some places. Kind of strange if you're not used to it. But much like the Bollinger Bands and Keltner channels, it's kind of an envelope type of thing where it contains the candlesticks pretty well. And sometimes it works perfectly, sometimes just like the Bollinger Bands and the Keltner channels. Sometimes it bounces right off of it, right? And then sometimes it hits and then just keeps going. So it doesn't work perfectly. All right, but let's talk about what these three bands mean. Just like with the Bollinger Bands and Keltner channels, you've got the lower channel or band. I'll call them bands because we're probably used to calling them bands from the Bollinger Bands. You got your lower band, your upper band, and your midline or center line, and that's fine. All right, let's start with the top one. The upper line here, or upper band, is the highest price of the look back period. So right now it's 20, and it's a daily candlestick chart. So this upper band, the upper line here, tells you the highest price that Netflix has reached in the last 20 days, the last 20 candlesticks. Okay? And the lower line, the lower band here, as you might guess, is the lowest price of the last 20 days, or whatever look back period you choose. All right, so you've got the 20-day high up here and the 20-day low down here. And the midline, the center line, is just the average. So you take the 20-day high and the 20-day low, add them up, divide by 2. That's your center line. Simple as that. Okay? And so that's how it's possible to have these perfectly flat horizontal lines that you don't see in Bollinger Bands or Keltner channels too much. All right, because if you think about it, since this is the high, okay, this is the highest price of the last 20 days, and let's say that the candlesticks don't really wobble that much. Let's say they don't move around that much. Then if the highest price of the last 20 days is up here, and then some days pass, the days go by, but the highest price of the last 20 days might not change, especially if you don't see these candlesticks marking new highs, right? And so if the highest price of the last 20 days doesn't change all this time, then you're going to have a flat line until the highest price of the last 20 days does change. As time passes, it might go down if there are no new highs for a long time. But then when the candles start breaking out to the upside and you start getting new highest prices of the last 20 days, then this line is going to stop being so flat and it's going to start going up with new high marks, high prices. Okay? And here's an example of a lower line, a lower band, if you want to call it that, that's flat. But again, if you don't see any new lows, then the lowest price of the last 20 periods might remain the same. Okay, until 20 periods pass, and the low might go up if you don't see any if you don't see any new lows of the last 20 days, then this lower line might start to creep up. Okay, and then go flat for a while. All right, and it won't go down until it starts printing new lows of the last 20 periods, like here. And so it really takes a bigger move to push the lower band down, or the upper band. You have to start seeing some new highs, is what it takes. All right. So that's what it is. That's why it's not as curvy as, let's say, the Bollinger Bands, because the Bollinger Bands are going to print. Remember, the Bollinger Bands are more like averages, where it's printing a slightly new and slightly different average every day. But with this one, you're going to have some flat periods because it's not printing a new high of the last 20 days every day, or a new low of the last 20 days every day. So that's the best way I can explain why there are these flat things here in the Donchian channels. All right, so how can you use it? Well, I actually saw somebody else's YouTube video. I'm not going to mention any names, but this person recommended that when the candlestick goes below the center line here, that's a signal to go short or consider going short. And when the candlesticks break above the center line, the midline here, that's a possible signal to go long. Personally, I tend to disagree with that. I view these a lot like the Bollinger Bands and Keltner channels. I'm more of a contrarian trader and investor. I'm not likely to buy something at a high price or short something or sell it at a low price. I'd rather buy something at a lower price. And so I tend to treat these more like the Bollinger Bands. I know they're not the same as the Bollinger Bands, but that's how I tend to view them. And so we could view the lower line here as an oversold indicator or a buy signal if it hits that, or if it pierces the lower line here. Okay, and we can see it's not really going to pierce through it here. If you look at the candles carefully, you see they're not busting through that top line like they do with Bollinger Bands and Keltner channels. You kind of have to treat it differently. It's more of a touch thing than an actual busting through it. But we could still view the touching of the upper line here as a possible overbought signal, and the touching of the lower line here is a possible oversold or buy signal here. And so, just like with Bollinger Bands, you can buy at the lower band and then sell it when it reaches that upper band. With the Bollinger Bands and Keltner channels, I have a tendency not to use the midline that much, and I don't use it here that much either. Anyway, this is my interpretation, and just like with the Bollinger Bands and the Keltner channels, it doesn't work all the time. There are times when it does not work so well. We can see it worked pretty well here. If you had bought here when it touched and then sold here when it touched up here, you would have made a pretty good profit here on Netflix. On the other hand, there are times when it touches that lower band and then just kind of waterfalls, just kind of keeps cascading downward from there. And so don't expect it to be perfect, but you can add it to your arsenal. Some people say that you can add the average true range and use it with this. With the Donchian channels, you can. That's a possibility. It's up to you how you use it. But I kind of like it as an interesting and rather unusual looking alternative to Bollinger Bands and Keltner channels. You have to decide for yourself what you're going to do and how you're going to interpret these indicators. All right, I hope you enjoyed this. This was just a basic introduction to the Donchian channels. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and leave comments. And you can subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit that bell on YouTube if you'd like to receive updates on all of my new financial educational videos. And if you need help with trading and investing and indicators, you can email me anytime. My email address is davidmodell@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I'll talk to you again soon.